Welcome to part 3 of 99 problems. In this video I'll be going through questions 31 to 40, and you might notice the questions getting a little bit more challenging as we go through the paper. But anyways, let's get started on question 31. Daisy thinks of a whole number. She multiplies the number by 3. Daisy's answer is 34. Explain how you know Daisy's answer is wrong. Well, she started with a whole number and multiplied by 3, therefore she'd have to end up with a multiple of 3. 34 is not a multiple of 3, it's not in the 3 times table, so my answer here would be something along those lines. So 34 is not a multiple of 3 for 1 mark. Part B says here is a number machine. Abby says that when the output is 36, the input is 60. Here is her working. 36 takes 6 equals 30. 30 times 2 equals 60. Abby is wrong. Explain what she has done wrong. So to get from the output to the input, we need to reverse these operations here in the correct order. And clearly Abby has done these in the wrong order, so her order of operations is incorrect. And also she needs to do the inverse of each operation. So if it's a multiplied by 2, she needs to divide by 2. If it's a plus 6, she needs to take 6. So firstly, her order of operations is wrong, and she should have divided by 2 instead of multiplied by 2. So she hasn't used the inverse of multiplying by 2. So we could say the inverse of multiplied by 2 is not used. Okay, and that was for 2 marks. It's important to look at the wording on these questions. If it says explain what she has done wrong, it doesn't mean to describe what she should have done. So you could write she should have divided by 2 then subtracted 6, but then that would not be explaining what she's done wrong. So make sure to pay attention to the wording there in those types of questions. Question 32 says Jane writes down the following: 3.4 times 5.3 equals 180.2. Without doing the exact calculation, explain why Jane's answer cannot be correct. Well, both of these numbers are less than 10. So even 10 times 10 is 100, so that would be less than 180. But we could even do better than that. We could say something like 4 times 6 equals 24. And that's much less than 180. And these numbers are less than 4 and 6. So even if we went up to the next whole number, we'd still get a much smaller answer. So clearly it's wrong. So you could use that kind of logic. So we could write down 4 times 6 equals 24. Therefore, 3.4 times 5.3 must be less than 24. Therefore, cannot equal 180.2. That would be my general reasoning there for that question for 1 mark. Question 33 says, here are 2 numbers, 29 and 37. Nadia says both of these numbers can be written as the sum of 2 square numbers. Is Nadia correct? You must show how you get your answer. So 2 square numbers need to add to make 29, or what could they be? 29 equals 25 plus 4, and that's 5 squared plus 2 squared. So 29 can be the sum of 2 square numbers. What about 37? Well, think of the square numbers. These are 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, and 36. Well, 36 and 1. Oops, I wrote 36. I meant to write 37 there. Sorry. 37 is going to be 36 plus 1, which is 6 squared plus 1 squared. So she is correct. Both of these numbers can be written as the sum of 2 square numbers. So I think that would be enough working. So we could just say, yes, she is correct. And that would be enough for 3 marks, I would think. Question 34 says, Leah buys a new car for £5,700. She pays a deposit of 12%. She then pays the rest of the cost in 15 equal monthly payments. How much is each monthly payment? We need to find 12%. And well, this is a deposit on this payment. There's no interest involved here, so we're just looking at this as the total amount. So she pays a 12% deposit. That will be taken off that amount, and then she'll have the rest to pay in equal monthly payments. So we need to subtract 12% from this. In my opinion, this could be calculator or non-calculator. I'm going to go ahead and do this without a calculator, but if you did this with a calculator, that's fine as well. So without a calculator, I would probably do 12% of 5,700. That would be my first step. 10% would be 570. 1% would be 57. So 2% would be 57 times 2 would be 114. 570 plus 114, that's 684 pounds. And then we need to take that away because that's what she's paid off. So 5,700 take 684. And this is like take 700 plus 16. So this would be 5,016. And then we need to divide that by 15 to find the monthly payments. So 5,016 divided by 15, or 15 goes into 53 times. That'd be 45, so 5 left over. Again, it goes into 51 3 times with 6 left over. 15 goes into 64 times with 6 left over. And then we need to add a decimal place, so 15 into 60 is 4. So final answer there, the monthly payments would be £334.40. Now if I was doing this with a calculator, instead of doing this 12% and taking it away, I would probably do 0.88 times 5,700. And that gives you 5,700 decreased by 12% straight away. I just thought without a calculator, that's a little bit more difficult to do. So anyways, final answer there of 334.4. On to question 35. Andy flies from UK to Japan. His plane ticket costs £554. Andy then flies from Japan to Australia. His plane ticket costs 7,144 Japanese yen. The exchange rate is £1 to 140 Japanese yen. Leela flies from the UK to Australia. Her plane ticket costs 1,860 Australian dollars. The exchange rate is $1 Australian dollar equals 64 pence. Who pays more to fly from the UK to Australia, Andy or Leela? You must show clearly how you get your answer. Okay, so Andy has paid $554 to get to Japan and then 70,140 Japanese yen. So we want to convert this to pounds. Well, they've made it fairly easy for this operation. 140 Japanese yen equals £1, so we need to divide this by 140. So again, you could treat this as calculator or non-calculator. I'm going to go ahead and treat it as a non-calculator question, but realistically this probably would not show up in a non-calculator. However, it's always good to get the practice. So looking at these two numbers here, 14 and 7, they're obviously related. So 140 multiplied by, let's say we multiplied that by 1,000, that would give you 140,000. And then if we halved that, so if we multiplied 140 by 500, that would give you 70,000, right? Must be half of this. So 70,140, that's going to be 140 times 501 equals 70,140. So just by looking at the relationship between 7 and 14, it helps you to get to that final answer, 140 times 501. So therefore, the other way around, 70,140 divided by 140 must equal 501. So this is going to be 501 pounds for his flight from Japan to Australia. Then we need to work out Leela's cost. So looking at this exchange rate, they haven't given us £1 equals, they've given us $1 Australian dollar equals 64 pence. So we need to do a slightly different operation here. We need to convert from Australian dollars to pounds by multiplying by how many pounds we get per dollar. So for this one, we're going to do 860 times 0.62. And if I was doing this without a calculator, I would probably do 186 times 62 as an operation. So kind of forget about the zero and the decimals here, and then worry about that after I've done this operation. So 6 times 2 is 12, carry the 1, 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1 is 7. Carry the 1. 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Then do the tens. 6 times 6, 36. Carry the 3. 8 times 6 is 48 plus 3 is 51. Carry the 5. 1 times 6 is 6 plus 5 is 11. Okay, so then the total there becomes, we'll add these up, 2, 13, carry the 1, 5, 1, 1. All right, so now when we multiplied, this one was divided by 10, so we need to multiply the answer by 10 and then divide by 100 because we multiplied this number by 100. So all up, we divide by 10, or move that decimal place 1 place inwards. So this is going to be 1153.2. Okay, so that was Leela's total. Andy's total we still need to work out. So let's write down Andy pays how much? So 554 plus 501. That's going to be 1055. And then Leela pays, well, we've already got that total, 1153.2. So to answer the question, who pays more to fly from the UK to Australia, Leela pays more. And again, probably a calculator question, but always good to get that extra practice in. And also when you're doing your exam, just make sure you're working out. It's a bit neater than this. Generally, I do this because to keep the question and the working out on the page. But if you're doing this in an exam, yeah, just make sure you're working out a little bit neater. Okay, question 36. 400 grams of raspberries and 300 grams of strawberries cost a total of £7.46. 500 grams of strawberries cost £4.10. Work out the total cost of 200 grams of raspberries and 200 grams of strawberries. And this is a 4-mark question. Okay, so for this total here, we can't really do anything with that yet because we don't know the cost of the strawberries and the raspberries. But we can work out the cost of strawberries using this piece of information here. So 500 grams of strawberries cost £4.10. And I would probably go ahead and find the cost of 100 grams of strawberries. So 100 grams of S for strawberries, so I don't just have to write the whole thing out. So 100 grams of strawberries would be this divided by 5. So 410, I might change it to pence. Feel like it might be easier that way. So 410 divided by 5. Well, I know 5 goes into 480 times and 5 goes into 10 twice. So this is going to be 82 pence per 100 grams of strawberries. And then I'm going to have to work out 300 grams to then work out the cost of raspberries. So 300 grams of strawberries is going to be 82 times 3. That's going to be, well, let's write that down. 82 times 3. That's going to be 240, and then 2 times 6, 246 pence, or £2.46. Therefore, if these added together make £7.46, then 400 grams of raspberries must be 746 take 246. So 400 grams of R for raspberries is going to be £5. Actually, let's write down the operation we did there. So we did 746 take 246 equals £5. And then, oh, actually we're going to be able to half that to get 200 grams. So now all we need to do is to do 200 grams of raspberries. Well, half this would be £2.50. And then 200 grams of strawberries, we need to double this amount, 82 times 2, 164 or £1.64. And then the question asks, work out the total cost of those two added together. So let's add these up. 0 plus 4, 5 plus 6 is 11. Carry the 1, 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So final answer there would be £4.14 for 4 marks. Okay, question 37 says, only blue vans and white vans are made in a factory. The ratio of the number of blue vans to the number of white vans is 4:3. write down the fraction of vans that are blue. So if you're ever given a ratio and you're asked to find the fraction, look at the total of the parts in the ratio. So 4 plus 3 is 7. And then we're looking for blue vans. So the blue vans part of this ratio is 4. So that fraction is going to be 4 out of the total parts, which is 7. So 4 over 7. Part B says the number of small vans to the number of large vans equals 3 to 5. Work out the fraction of the number of vans made in the factory that are blue and large. Okay, so we have a ratio of the blue vans. So we know the total of all of the vans that are blue is 4 over 7. And then we need to work out the fraction that are large. So that's 5 parts in this ratio. The total in this ratio is 8. So the fraction of large vans is going to be 5 over 8. And then to work out a fraction of a fraction, you need to multiply those together. So then once we multiply these, we could do 4 times 5, which is 20, and 7 times 8, which is 56. And it doesn't say to simplify, so that could be your final answer there, 20 over 56. But if you did want to simplify, I would actually cancel at the first step here to make it a bit easier. So I would cancel that 4 and that 8. So that would be 2 and 1. And then you get 5 over 14. So, but that would be fine as well. Okay, on to question 38. 38 says there are only red counters, blue counters, and green counters in a bag. Number of red counters to number of blue counters to number of green counters is 1 to 3 to 7. A counter is going to be taken at random from the bag. Part A says complete the table below to show each of the probabilities that the counter will be red or blue or green. Okay, so we need to look at the total in this ratio. 1 plus 3 plus 7. That's going to be 11 parts in total. And then for the red counters, that's going to be 1 out of 11 parts. So the probability will be 1 out of 11. For blue, that's going to be 3 out of 11. And then for green, it's going to be 7 out of 11. So hopefully pretty straightforward there. Jamie takes at random a counter from the bag and records the color of the counter. He then puts the counter back in the bag. Jamie does this a number of times. He records a total of 68 blue counters. And part B says work out an estimate for the total number of times Jamie takes a counter from the bag. Okay, so if he's picked out 68 blue counters, and we don't know how many picks he's taken, but we expect 3 out of 11 of those to be blue. So to work out the number of blue counters, if we had the total picks, we would say it would be total picks multiplied by the probability, which is 3 out of 11, and that would give us 68. In this case, we don't know the number of total picks. So to find the number of total picks, we're going to have to divide by this fraction over here. So if you divide by this fraction, 3 over 11, you're actually going to end up multiplying by 11 and then dividing by 3. So therefore, the total picks is going to equal 68 times 11 on 3. Probably calculated question, but let's try to use our brains instead. So 68 times 11, that's going to be, well, there's a trick multiplying by 11. You can add them together, and that's the middle digit. 6 plus 8 is actually 14. So in that case, you need to add 1 to the 6. So this is going to be 748 divided by 3. A little trick to multiply by 11 there. If you haven't seen that before, let me know and I can go into that in a bit more detail. But then we need to do 748 divided by 3. 748 divided by 3. 3 into 7 is 2 times, with the remainder 1. 3 into 14, well, 3 into 12 goes 4 times, and then there would be 2 left over. 3 into 28 doesn't go exactly, but 3 into 27 is 9. And then we're going to have to add on a decimal point, and then there'd be 1 left over. So 3 into 10 goes 3 times. Oh, this is going to be a third because this will keep going. So 0.333 recurring is the same as a third. So this will be 249 and a third. Okay, so we can't have 249 and a third picks, so we'll have to round this off. I'd round that to 249. I'd round down to 249, but I think you could make the case that it would also round up as well. If you're making a third of a pick, that's essentially one pick. So I think 250 would be okay there, but I'm going to round it down to 249 picks. And the reason we have a fraction there is because, remember, it's just an estimate. This is not an exact number. This is an estimate based on probabilities. So our estimate is 249 picks. Okay, question 39. Frank, Mary, and Seth shared some sweets in the ratio 4 to 5 to 7. Seth got 18 more sweets than Frank. Work out the total number of sweets they shared. Well, Seth, in this ratio, Seth has 7 parts and Frank has 4 parts. So whenever you're looking at a ratio, remember that in the order of the names. So Frank is the first number, Seth is the last one. So if he got 18 more than Seth, he has 3 more parts of that ratio. Therefore, we could say 3 parts of that ratio equals 18 sweets. Therefore, 1 part would equal 6, right? 18 divided by 3. And then how many parts in total in this ratio? Well, 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 7 is 16. So we have 16 parts multiplied by what each part is worth, which is 6. So 16 times 6, that's 60 plus 36, that'll be 96 sweets. So final answer there, 96 for 3 marks. And question 40 says Michelle and Wayne have saved a total of 458 for their holiday. Wayne saved 72 more than Michelle. How much did Wayne save? Okay, so I don't think algebra is necessary here, but I like algebra, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. So if we say what Michelle saved is X, what Wayne saved will be X plus 72, whatever Michelle earned plus 72 pounds. And the total was 458. Okay, then we've got 2 lots of X equals 458 takes 72. 458 takes 72, that's going to be 386. 386, and then divide by 2, 386 divided by 2, 193 pounds. So Michelle saved 193 pounds, then we need to add on 72 to that. So 193 plus 72, that would be 265. Okay, so how much did Wayne save? 265 pounds. Okay, so that was question 40 for 2 marks and the end of this section of the paper that I'll be going through. Stick around for part 4. I might go through more questions in that section. I'm not sure yet. I'll see how I go. But I hope you found that useful. Please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.